Hey guys, James MC Reviews here, and it's Oscar season! Yes, it's become sort of a tradition on this channel to go over all the Best Picture nominations, and this year is especially significant because I didn't need to see nearly as many movies this year. There are 10 movies nominated for Best Picture this year, and of those 10, 6 of them I've already seen and done reviews on, so I'll leave links to all those videos in the card so you can go check them out if you want my raw reactions and thoughts on them. Without any further delaying, let's get into the Best Picture nominations for 2023. All Quiet on the Western Front is directed by Edward Berger and is about a group of friends who enlist in the war with dreams of being heroes only to discover the horror that awaits them. It's nominated for 9 Oscars, and while a case could be made for all of them, the ones it absolutely deserves are International Feature, Original Score, Cinematography, and Production Design. I haven't read the book that this is based on, and I haven't seen the original, so I don't know how this fares as an adaptation, but as a standalone movie, it was fucking harrowing. It does a really good job capturing the brutality of war, contrasting that perfectly with the people in power trying to come to an agreement on an armistice while hundreds of men are dying. The cinematography is absolutely breathtaking and does a good job capturing the scope of everything. The score was chilling without being overbearing. The film was tense and rough to watch at certain points, if a bit too long, and overall it was a really damn good movie. It's not my pick for Best Picture, but I would not be upset if this won. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Avatar: The Way of Water is a movie that I've already talked about, so be sure to check this video out if you want my full thoughts. It's nominated for 4 Oscars, and the only one that it genuinely deserves is Best Visual Effects. The fact that this is nominated for Best Picture is baffling to me. I didn't even hate the movie, and I'm still wondering what the hell this is doing here. When you look at the list of Best Picture noms, it stands out so much, and not in a good way. Like I said, it's not bad. The visual effects are absolutely gorgeous, but it does not deserve to be nominated for Best Picture. And if it somehow manages to win, I will be livid. Once again, I made a whole video on it, so check it out if you want. 3 out of 5. The Banshees of Inisherin is, hey, look at that, another movie I've already talked about. Be sure to check out my November Ketchup review to hear my initial thoughts. It's nominated for 8 Oscars, and I feel like it deserves at least 4 of them. While Martin McDonagh isn't my personal choice for Best Directing, I wouldn't be upset if he won. He did a good job balancing the line between drama and humor while not making it too jarring and being in service to the story. I also thought the 3 main actors, Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and Kerry Condon, did great, with Colin Farrell being the standout. He just struck a really good balance of portraying a clingy best friend while not being too cartoony or over the top. He was funny, but also tragic at the same time. I definitely say check this movie out in the theater if you can, because even if you don't get hooked in by the story or characters, the film looks beautiful. I don't think it'll win Best Picture, but it would be an interesting choice if it did. I give it a 4 out of 5. Elvis is the Baz Luhrmann musical biopic that I've also talked about already. Hopefully we get to the point where I see all the Best Picture noms before they're released, but until that time, be sure to check out my June Ketchup review to hear my thoughts on it. It's nominated for 8 Oscars, and I think it only deserves 4 of them. Makeup and hairstyling and costume design are a give me. This movie is like Rocket Man in that it captured these iconic looks pretty flawlessly. The film had pretty awesome cinematography, it was vibrant and full of energy, and Austin Butler would not be a bad choice for Best Actor. As I said in my review, it's impressive that all these celebrity biopics managed to find the perfect person for the lead role every single time. I enjoyed this movie more than a lot of people did, but I don't think it's Best Picture material. It is entertaining and I recommend checking it out. 4.5 out of 5. Everything Everywhere All at Once is my favorite movie of last year. Spoilers for those who haven't seen my Best of 2022 list, and I am beyond thrilled to see it nominated. It has 10 nominations, and sorry if I sound biased, but I think a case could be made for all of them, including Best Picture. The directing duo of the Daniels crafted something truly special, and no other movie I've seen this year has been able to dethrone it. It was so well written, well acted, and well directed. I don't know if it'll win Best Picture because it's so weird and all over the place, but to me, that's exactly why it should win. It doesn't conform to the stereotypes of what you'd expect from a typical award contender, but it still has the elements of one. Also, I'd love to see Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan get Best Actor and Actress. I've already talked about this movie ad nauseum already, so go check it out if you haven't. 5 out of 5. The Fabelmans is a semi-autobiographical story of Steven Spielberg and his discovery and journey as a filmmaker. It's nominated for 7 Oscars, and I can really only make a case for one of them, which is Best Original Screenplay. And even then, that's stretching it. If you're at all interested or passionate about filmmaking or would like to learn a bit about the early stages of it or want to get into it, I think this movie will definitely speak to you. If you want to learn more about the life and history of Steven Spielberg, this really isn't it. Don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. I enjoyed watching it. The highlights were whenever it was showing young Sammy Fabelman and his friends making their own movies and putting them together. If you've ever been interested in film at any point, you can see yourself in these scenes. I certainly did. I was immediately brought back to some of my early stop-motion videos and my TV production projects, where it was ultimately just me and my friends playing around. I honestly don't think this did a good job representing Steven Spielberg's life, though. I feel like there was so much they skipped over, and things that just kind of happened. I feel like this would have worked better as a mini-series, maybe each episode covering a different era of Spielberg's life and career. As the movie is now, I would recommend it, I just didn't think it was great. 3.5 out of 5. Tar is directed by Todd Field and stars Cate Blanchett as renowned composer/conductor Lydia Tarr. The crux of the story shows her ego and public image being compromised when she becomes the target of cancel culture after allegations surface about her grooming her students. It's nominated for 6 Oscars, and I think it only deserves 2 of them. The cinematography is very striking and purposeful, starting off very smooth and unassuming and getting more and more frantic as the film dives deeper. And as much as I'd love for Michelle Yeoh to win, Cate Blanchett is the obvious choice for Best Leading Actress. She gives a great performance. She has such a captivating presence and ego that, again, comes more and more undone as the movie goes on. The reason I keep referring to the latter half of the movie is because that's honestly where it was starting to get more interesting for me. Seeing a person at the top of their game having their career ruined and seeing them deal with the repercussions of that was kind of gripping for me. The rest of the movie was just kind of meh. It didn't seem to have any direction. I was just kind of watching this person's day-to-day interactions. There were some funny interactions, like the scene with the student in her class, but those were kind of few and far between. And it wasn't until the third act where I started to get properly invested, but then it just ended. I think the cinematography and Blanchett's performance elevate the movie higher than it would have ultimately been. It just wasn't for me. 3.5 out of 5. Top Gun Maverick is yet another movie I've already talked about. Check out my May Ketchup review and my Best of 2022 list to hear my in-depth thoughts on the movie. It's nominated for 5 Oscars, and I think it deserves 3 of them. Best Visual Effects, Best Editing, and Best Sound. Sound and VFX are kind of a given. The action sequences in the film look spectacular, and the visual effects are almost unnoticeable. And of course, the roaring of the AR-15s is enough to get anyone hyped. I'm honestly kind of surprised it didn't get a cinematography nomination, when so much of what makes the film exciting comes from the cinematography. Either way, I've talked about this movie already. I'm still so shocked I loved it as much as I did. I don't think it deserves Best Picture, but it's cool to see it nominated. 4.5 out of 5. Triangle of Sadness is a dark comedy by Ruben Östlund and is about a couple of models who are invited on a luxury cruise that goes horribly, horribly wrong. It's nominated for 3 Oscars, and I think it only deserves 1, and that's Best Original Screenplay. It falls into that category of fuck the 1% movies that have become more and more frequent within the past few years. I think this one gets points for being the most over the top, though. It does take a bit to get going, but when it does not hold back. The absolute torment that these rich fuckers are put through when they get on this cruise is both horrifying and hilarious. Just a heads up, if you do have a fear of vomit or are easily grossed out, you might want to be ready to cover your eyes and ears. I like how it played with things like gender roles and positions of power. I thought it was cleverly written and well acted. I think a case could be made for it to win Best Director, and if that happened, I wouldn't be upset because I think Östlund did a great job. I just really want the Daniels to win. But yeah, check this movie out if you haven't already. It was a pretty fun time, and I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Women Talking is directed by Sarah Polley and is about a group of women who have been sexually abused by the men in their colony and have to decide whether to stay and fight or leave to protect themselves. It's nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay, and honestly, I don't think it deserves either of them. This was not a very good movie. It was long, drawn out, and while it had interesting themes and undertones, it was drowned out by the utter boredom that the rest of the movie is. I mean, I'll give it this, there are no false pretenses within the film. It does give you women talking about the same 3 things every single scene. I understand that this group of women are all processing their trauma and trying to form a plan against their attackers, but that doesn't make for an engaging movie. It's just a group of women sitting in a circle in a single location arguing with each other on whether they should stay or go. I mean, I'll kind of give it that the cast does a decent job and it's not the worst directed thing I've seen, but it's very washed out color-wise, it's not very well written, and overall, it's just very boring. This feels kind of like in 2020 when Little Women was nominated, in that it feels like it's just here as a placeholder. Although to Little Women's credit, it was at least a much better movie and more deserving of a nom than this was. If you're trying to see everything that's nominated, then this isn't terrible, it's just boring. 2.5 out of 5. Alright, so those were all the Best Picture nominations for this year, but before I go, I wanted to leave with some further thoughts on some of the other categories, as well as a few snubs that might not have been mentioned here. I have watched all the nominees for Best Animated Feature, and for me, it's kind of a three-way tie between Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I feel like either of those three could get it, and I would not be disappointed. Typically, I don't really pay attention to categories like Best Documentary, because most of the time the nominees are movies that I just haven't seen or haven't had the chance to see. But me and my girlfriend were both ecstatic when we saw that Fire of Love was nominated, because we both really loved that movie, so I hope that one gets some recognition. There were a few snubs that were kind of surprising to me. The Batman was nominated for Best Sound, Best Visual Effects, and Best Makeup and Hairstyling, but honestly, I think the two categories that it was tailor-made for that it didn't get nominated for was Best Cinematography and Best Score. That was kind of surprising. Nope didn't get nominated for anything, which was also pretty shocking to me. The guys over at The Blue House, which is another movie review and discussion channel, they did a live breakdown of the Oscar nominations a couple weeks ago, I think, so go check that out if you haven't. But they were talking about how Danielle Deadwyler and Viola Davis were not nominated for Till and The Woman King respectively, and I honestly kind of agree. I'm surprised that they didn't get any nominations. I kind of would have chucked out Ana de Armas and Michelle Williams and swapped those out for them too, because I feel like they're more deserving. But by far, the biggest robbery this year has got to be Morbius for Best Picture. I mean, come on, that movie deserves some sort of love. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Oscar nominations. Let me know in the comments some of your predictions. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you want to win? What are some movies that, or actors or actresses that might have gotten snubbed? Let me know all that stuff down below. Until next time, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on when I'm posting. Follow me on all my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.